are now listening to the War Report Podcast Network.
What is up, everybody? Welcome back to the College Loop Podcast, episode 157 of the College Loop Podcast. I'm Larck, a boy tank on Twitter/X, and I'm here wearing blue light glasses, not actual glasses. Just want everybody to know. I've been in front of a screen all day. I'm trying to avoid a headache late at night. But I'm here joined by Mr. Harrison Tarr. Tarr, how you doing, buddy?
I don't know what day it is. To be honest with you, I took a 4.5 hour nap when I got home on accident. I'm great. I had to really kind of wake up and be like, oh, shit, I missed the show. I didn't. Here I am. Thankfully, Dylan had night school. You know that? You remember bedtime stories? Night school. Yeah. That was a crazy Adam Sandler callback. And I'm glad that Dylan had a night class this evening because I was out like a light for 4.5 hours after work, which is actually pretty unlike me nowadays, now that I actually like my job and have a healthy work environment and work-life balance. But yeah, no, I'm good, man. I'm trying to figure out where I am, but I'm also, you and I had some pretty good like warm-up discussion, if you will, before the show, kind of talking a little bit about, I'm really, really excited for this Iron Bowl on the road in Tuscaloosa in basketball. I think it's going to be a ton of fun, and we'll get to that later in the show, but I'm fired up. I'm really, really excited to see. This is going to be a good road test for this team, and I'm really pumped to see how Auburn performs, and ready to talk Auburn football, obviously, but really, really pumped to be back here and talking Auburn basketball specifically.
And we'll make sure we get there in due time. But to knock it out, we have a couple of news headlines that broke over the past since we saw y'all last time. Starting off with cornerback Nehemiah Pritchett has finally received his invitation for this year's NFL Combine. That makes 3 Auburn Tigers, and all 3 of those being defensive backs, getting invited to the NFL Combine, which pretty much guarantees that Auburn's going to have at least 3 players drafted in this year's draft class, and all of those being Jay Simp, DJ James, Nehemiah Pritchett. And I don't know if it goes much deeper than that. I really don't. I don't know how. I don't think Gunnar Britton, maybe he might. Avery Jones, maybe. But other than that, I don't really see Zion Puckett getting one. I don't see. Is Oscar Chapman coming back?
I'm not sure. I don't think we've heard yet. But I'm with you. Three people. I think that's your 3's magic number. I think your DBs.
And I think based on the last draft class, NFL teams might stay away from drafting any more Auburn specialists for a little bit after the Packers game. That
was rough.
Shout out the Lions for making the NFC Championship. Shout out the Lions. I almost bought a hat to celebrate. I'm a Panthers fan, but shout out the Lions. But yeah, Nehemiah Pritchett got his invite. And again, that's all we pretty much expect to see. We'll have more draft analysis of those guys after the Combine happens. That way we have a little bit more.
But before, let's just way too early look at Nehemiah Pritchett because I did put it in the description already, and I'm not changing the description, Dylan. So no, I mean seriously, let's just throw out rounds. I'm not worried about that right now. Schematically, somewhere that you think that Nehemiah Pritchett could flourish, somewhere that he could develop. I know I'm putting you on the spot a little bit here, but he feels like a developmental piece, someone that needs to go somewhere that's already kind of rooted in success on the defensive side of the ball. Where he can receive actual player development. For me, it's like a Baltimore. Like that feels like a good, like genuinely a good fit for him. Actually, take your pick in that AFC North. Realistically, anywhere in that room, and whether that be in Baltimore, whether that be in Cleveland, whether that be in Pittsburgh, I think, or Cincinnati for that matter, a team on solid ground that's playing good defensive ball, which the AFC North did do this year. Lamar just decided he wanted to put up MVP numbers again because Lamar is incredible. I think that's kind of a landing zone for him. I like Baltimore a lot for Nehemiah Pritchett.
Yeah, I'm looking at teams that are kind of solidified with a young defensive back core. I mean, it'd be hard for me not to kind of pull off. What if the Tampa Bay Buccaneers use 3 of their draft picks for Jalen Simpson, DJ James, and Pritchett.
Respectfully, they definitely need to start working on the DB room. Love Jamel, love those guys, but love Carlson.
I'd be interested to see because I don't know if they just got new paid. I think they did get paid. I think both those guys got paid. They're there for a little bit.
Yeah, but they got burned a lot this year.
Yeah, but Tampa Bay's defense kind of regressed a lot because
but nobody left.
They regressed.
Yeah,
Just a team regression. You lose the best quarterback you've seen since Brad Johnson in 2002.
And Father Time.
Yeah, that too. That is a pretty aged team. Mike Evans, if you're listening, Carolina would love you. Another team I'm looking at is Seattle Seahawks, a team based with a young defensive back room. Tariq Woolen comes to mind right away. Meep. If you're listening, Teresa, meep. Tariq Woolen. But yeah, a very young defensive back room and kind of trying to bring back that Legion of Boom. I know it's gone and dead forever, but Seattle definitely a team that's in need of a good secondary, especially in a division that consists of the high flying offense that is the San Francisco 49ers.
Can I just throw something out there as well? Let's talk about the Texans for a second here. Talk about a younger group. Obviously, Derek Stingley Jr. leading the charge in Houston, playing Jason Hemsey, Steven Nelson, and then your back end, your anchor DeAndre Houston Carlson and Jalen Petrie. But that's a young team that I think Pritchett could fit in well culturally and development wise. I mean, I'm huge on the Texans in the future. They've got their guy on the offensive side of the ball. That's one thing. Like Stroud was everything that people wanted him to be and more. And then Tank Dell, their offensive weapons are in great shape. Now they just want to anchor down that defense, and this feels like a fun, if nothing else, a fun landing spot for Pritchett. Another honorable mention, the Jacksonville Jaguars on the other side. I mean, if you're looking at groups that are kind of bubble on the cusp that need some rotational depth that they could kind of mold their guy into their scheme, that's I think where Nehemiah Pritchett fits.
Yeah, I mean, if you look at the other two guys too, I mean, I look like keep it AFC South based. The Tennessee Titans probably wouldn't hurt for them to go for a safety like Jalen Simpson after.
The Tennessee Titans are not going to try to win next year, bro.
What are you talking about, dude? They got the guy who led the Bengals to having the 15th best passing offense, 31st best rushing offense in the NFL. It's a country going college terms here. I mean, they're definitely going to go full rebuild mode. But again, if you're listening, Derrick Henry and Jeffrey Simmons, if you're looking for a new home, Charlotte, North Carolina is beautiful this time of year and all throughout the year. And that goes for any free agent out in the market. Please.
You sound like me with quarterbacks.
Dude, it's worse.
Both of my teams need quarterbacks.
you were going strictly for quarterbacks, dude. I just need everything but. That's really it. I'm
just praying that one of my two teams just nuts up and goes and gets Jay Fields. Like, let's just do it. Like,
I mean, what you both your teams have? Well, no, Pittsburgh lucked up and got a draft, got a later draft pick because they decided to make the playoffs late in the year.
And because then talks about firing Tomlin. Don't get me started.
If they would. I mean,
I'm sure you would like to have him. You can't have him, bro.
Mike Tomlin, man. Charlotte's beautiful this time of year. But yeah, you shout the Nehemiah Pritchett.
If the Pittsburgh Steelers fire Mike Tomlin, I'm going to I can't ever enter fandom free agency because my grandfather would come down from the pearly gates of heaven and beat the ever living crap out of me. That's just not an option I have. But I would consider it, and he and I would have a prayer talk man to man.
Dude, you were a fan of one of the most historic franchises in the country. You've in the NFL history. They would get
No. It's not the team. It's not the team. It's the fan base wanting to run Mike Tomlin out of town, one of the greatest coaches in NFL history. Anyways, back to Auburn ball. I'm right though. I'm right. One of the greatest coaches to ever do it.
You're completely right. Top 10.
Absolutely.
Easy. But he's just been out of luck because his two quarterbacks ever since Ben Roethlisberger left are Mason Rudolph and Kenny Pickett.
Don't get Bo Nix, damn it.
Dude, you'd buy that. You'd probably buy that jersey so quick. You'd have to.
Yeah. Yeah, duh. Yeah, and then Trubisky, we still want you as a backup, but you're wearing any number other than 10. Sorry, bro.
Throwing out some of that Milo Sweet Tea money out.
I literally don't care. I don't care that Bo would be the kind of guy that I'll wear another number. No, I don't give a shit. You're gonna wear 10. You're gonna look good in it.
Bo Nix throwing the George Pickens though would be a fever dream to think about.
The only thing I hate about my team, George Pickens.
Yeah, you shout Nehemiah Pritchett, DJ James, and Jalen Simpson are getting invites to the NFL Combine. I think that's going to be pretty much it for the guys we're going to see compete.
Just get us one of those three in Tampa Bay, just to continue the lineage.
Have the entire secondary full of Auburn Tigers over there.
Only Auburn rotational pieces.
They would just need what? They just need Jalen Simpson really to complete it because you got a safety and 2 corners, and then Zion Puckett.
All right, listen, Tampa. You're already kind of a meme with Baker at quarterback, who baked, by the way, this year. He good for him. Very happy for Baker. But let's just complete the meme team. And known SEC guy Baker Mayfield,
because Oklahoma is
the storied SEC program that Oklahoma is.
Taking Georgia to overtime once makes the SEC team.
This is officially the most I've talked about the NFL in like maybe 3 calendar years. Anyways, continue.
Yeah, but to move on from the NFL and go into the high school ranks, Amaris Williams received a nice little jump from 24/7 Sports as he has received his 5th star.
You called it.
Yeah, exactly. He's definitely a guy who deserved it. And 24/7, they give it and they take it away because Perry Thompson lost his 5th star.
We've always said that 24/7 was the worst at ranking Perry Thompson,
but the best at ranking Amaris Williams and Cam Coleman. Exactly. Yes. But yeah, huge shout out to Amaris Williams, guy who's going to be a huge piece in this team throughout the foreseeable future. Also, out of all the recruits, I must say Amaris Williams took the best recruiting pictures out of anybody.
Agree, 100% agree. So cold.
Every single one of those were cold. They even had like the filters on it. It was Auburn. They were tough, hard, all that.
Auburn has the best sports marketing team in the country, by the way. Just saying, and creative team in the country. I am fully biased, but as someone who works in the field, imitation is the greatest form of flattery, right? I draw a lot of inspiration from those guys and gals because, God, are they talented? So,
and then right after them is Wesleyan College.
Well, that's because Auburn product Harrison Tarr is at the helm.
And then another huge shout out to future quarterback. Or quarterback of the future. Sorry, let me flip that around. Walker White jumps up to the number 5 spot out of the class 2024 at the quarterback position. So now Auburn can say they have a top 5 quarterback. You know who can't say that? The teams on the west side of Alabama and the team on the east side of Georgia. So huge shout out to Julian Sayin for flipping, or is it flipping? Flipping?
Sure.
To Ohio State, and Dylan Raiola for actually flipping to Nebraska. So huge shout out to those two.
Also, Raiola was a legacy at Nebraska. Like, how do we not see them in the race? Like,
he'll be in the transfer portal again soon. Don't worry. It's Nebraska, and the guy's already transferred 4 times in 4 years of high school.
He might. I don't know. I think Matt Rule's the guy in Lincoln, and I think they're going to be okay. I don't think they're going to win a national championship, but I think that Matt Rule's going to be a great right the ship, get yourself back to a perennial 8-9 win team.
As a Panthers fan, it's hard for me to root for Nebraska in the slightest. Just
I get it. No, I get it.
But yeah, huge shout out to guys going to improve their future and the guys coming to improve their future at Auburn as those guys head to the league. It is worth mentioning now to stay in the current state of the team. Auburn has hired all but I think one position on this coaching staff. Charles Kelly still remains as a co-defensive coordinator, so Auburn still looks like they're on the lookout for a guy to fill up that other spot. Charles Kelly, more of a defensive back guy, so maybe looking for a guy who could kind of fill up the role and work on that front 7, a position that's going to be very hit or miss up front because I think Jason Jones is back, which is huge. I say that the defensive line might actually be the best position group in the defense right now because we don't know what the secondary is going to look like at all. Because that is a huge rebuild, trying to make sure you can reload in the secondary. So a couple of guys I've been hearing a lot about: DJ Durkin from Texas A&M and Zach Arnett from the former head coach of the Mississippi State Bulldogs, who in 2021 was the defensive coordinator under May he rest in peace. Mike Leach, he's defensive coordinator, and he led that Mississippi State defense number 5 in the SEC. So huge pickup.
I think DJ Durkin makes a hell of a lot more sense than Zach Arnett. Arnett needs to have control of the defense. I'm just going to be honest with you. He's not cut out to be a head coach. I think everybody knew that. Coming into his tenure as he succeeded Mike Leach, he kind of just felt like, how do you just maintain, I guess, program stability and just kind of put a placeholder in his entire tenure. I mean, he was just objectively not a good head coach, but I do think he's a good defensive coordinator, and it's one of those guys that you kind of need to give him the unlimited keys in terms of like, this is your scheme, install your defense. There's not going to be a on your title, and I'm not knocking on that at Auburn. I think that if Arnett decided that would be a good piece for him to kind of right the ship and get back to where he thinks he can be in his career, I think the fit could work, but I don't think it makes as much sense as like a DJ Durkin. So I am mentally ruling out Zach Arnett. Now, if he were to make a decision and him and he were to come together and Freeze were to bring him in, I would not be upset whatsoever. I just think that I think he's overqualified for a co-defensive coordinator position. I think he's well qualified for a solo defensive coordinator, and kind of give him the keys to the kingdom at whatever program decides that they needed that to fill the gap.
Yeah, because I don't think you can go wrong with one of these two guys. These are the only two guys I'm really hearing about. Yeah. Because it's kind of hard. Defensive coordinators are always like a hard position to kind of like grasp all of, because
that's because the great ones are already locked down.
They're already locked down, or how likely are some coaches willing to drop a head coaching job to come be a DC at an SEC school? Because I don't know if Alabama lucked out with theirs, but South Alabama's head coach they're now hiring. I'm trying to remember who that. Major Applewhite is the head coach of South Alabama Jaguars after Kane Womack jumped ship to the Alabama Crimson Tide. But yeah, both those guys I think will be huge pickups either way. DJ Durkin has a history of if you're not aware of Texas A&M's defense last year, it was the best part of that team, and that's not remotely close. And they were very much built on that front seven. And Zach Arnett did the same thing at Mississippi State. So both those guys can help build up and fix this linebacker room.
And they build on similar models.
Exactly.
I'm not saying they're the same guy, but I think that it's close in terms of schematics. Recruiting, I edge DJ Durkin, but when it comes to schematics, maybe if there's a slight edge, it goes to Zach Arnett in terms of getting the most out of your guys. I think that there's no losing there, and if you surround Zach Arnett with some other guys that can really go on the road and recruit, that guy could be awesome. I really could. So I don't think there's a wrong answer out of those two. If those are the two that Auburn's truly narrowed down on, Dylan.
Yeah, and before we get to the basketball, let y'all know I'll go ahead and ask y'all, who do y'all want to be Auburn's next co-defensive coordinator? Do you want it to be DJ Durkin? Do you want it to be Zach Arnett? Or do you want it to be someone just wild card it?
Do you want to see my NCAA 14 resume?
I mean, I just want to say it. Georgia State won the championship off of a number one rushing defense in the country. 2-0 against Georgia Bulldogs, Georgia State Panthers. So,
yeah.
Auburn, you got my number.
Your NCAA 14 resume speaks for itself, Dylan. It's
exactly. I was a defensive coordinator at Cincinnati for their 10 championship dynasty, 10 in a row, might I add. Led the NCAA in interceptions, forced fumbles, rushing yards, and passing yards allowed per game. I was an absolute unit. My roommate, on the other hand, a lot of games were won 17-7 because I got 2 pick sixes.
That happens sometimes. That's okay.
Yeah.
As Dylan mentioned, drop you in the comments if you're watching on the YouTube stream, or if you're not, and make sure you tweet at us. Who would you like to see fill that co-defense coordinator position at Auburn as Hugh Freeze and company round out their year 2 staff in a year that a lot of people have a lot of promise, whether that's right, wrong, or indifferent. A lot of people have some expectations going into the 2024 season. Before we jump into Auburn men's basketball and their clash on the hardwood with Nate Him, that guy, him's not the right term. I won't do that. But Nate Oates and the Alabama Crimson Tide in T-Town. I want to remind everybody, if you're watching on the YouTube stream, make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. Ring the bell so you can stay up to date with everything going on here at the College Loop Podcast. And like I mentioned before, the number one way to support the podcast is to subscribe to the YouTube channel. Let's make our steady climb toward 1,000 subscribers. You guys are the best in the world, and your continual outpouring of support amazes us every single day. Also, shout out to Dylan for holding down the fort on the Sunday live stream, and you guys for hopping in, hanging out, and talking ball. You guys mean the world, especially with NFL football on. So that means a lot to us to come hang out. If you're not watching on the YouTube stream, totally cool. We appreciate you guys hanging out with us on your streaming platform of choice. Make sure you give us 5 stars, thumbs up, whatever the highest rating is on your streaming platform. Share the show with a friend so we can continue to grow the College Loop family, the Loopers, if you will. And we can continue to make sure that we have the biggest broadband to just continue farming the craziest following in all of Auburn sports sphere, because we absolutely love communicating with you guys, having discourse with you guys. Y'all are the best, and y'all are the reason we're able to do everything we want to do. If you want to support the College Loop in ways that go beyond sharing the show and subscribing, you can head over to thewarreport.com, pick up your very own College Loop War Report Podcast Network co-branded Feeling Loopy t-shirt. Comes in 5 different colorways. That's only available at thewarreport.com. $25. If you don't want to feel like type in www.thewarreport.com in your search bar, no worries, neither do we. We put it in our YouTube description and our Spotify, Apple Music, anything beyond that streaming platform service. It's in every description. You can just click on the link and go pick up your very own Feeling Loopy shirt. Once you pick it up, use hashtag Feeling Loopy. That's feeling without the G on whatever social media platform makes you the happiest, whether that be Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, or beyond, and tag us in it. We will make sure we throw up your selfie of you wearing your Feeling Loopy t-shirt on the next YouTube stream, the next show, whatever that may be. And we appreciate your continual love and support. Thank you guys so much for getting us to where we're at today. You guys are, once again, the reason we are able to continue the College Loop culture and continue to build on what we think that we have that's very special here. Jumping back into Auburn sports sphere. Ladies and gentlemen, in this corner, standing at 5'11", sweating through every shirt he's ever owned, Bruce Pearl. All right. We're talking Auburn men's basketball headed on the road on Wednesday night to take on number 8 ranked Auburn men's basketball, by the way. Just jumped up in the AP poll. Highest rating of the year. Jumping 5 spots. A lot of people thinking Auburn's a top 5 team. By the way, just a sidebar here, Dylan. I'm happy with number 8. I like where Auburn's at right now. I don't want them to be too high too early. I think I just have bad flashbacks from 20, 21, 22.
But I think me and you are on the complete opposite spectrum. I want Auburn to get the number 1 ranking as soon as possible. And you're like, you know what? This guy's ranking us at 13. I think I like where he has us right now.
Yeah, no, I like.
But it kind of goes on the same. Like, I don't want us to peak too early.
I like the national perspective that Auburn's not playing its best brand of basketball right now, and I like that. Maybe it's just me having PTSD from Jabari Smith, Walker Kessler being the bbest team in the country for an extended period of time. They were, and I think this team's in comparison, although that UConn team is really, really good. But like I said, the number 8 Auburn Tigers are traveling to take on the unranked Alabama Crimson Tide on Wednesday. Auburn is a heavy, according to ESPN's BPI, almost a 60 or over a 60% underdog to win this game in Tuscaloosa against an Alabama team that just got the doors blown off them by the University of Tennessee in Knoxville. Mind you, Tennessee, that's a hell of a ball club. I think that we've got a 3-horse race in the SEC. Should things work the way they can work for Auburn. Tennessee and Kentucky are going nowhere, but Tennessee proved their dominance over Mark Sears and company in Alabama. Okay, Dylan, let's talk X's and O's for a second here. The recipe for Auburn to win this ball game is not that it's straightforward. And I say not that difficult. It is extremely difficult, but it's not difficult to comprehend. It's get in the film room and watch what Mark Sears can do. This young man is just a hooper. He's averaging 30.3 minutes a game, 19.8 points, and he's shooting 47-3 from beyond the arc. It is going to be Aden, Holloway, and Trey Donaldson by platoon. Mind you, those guys don't even come close to 30.3 a game in terms of rotational pieces. Rotation and depth, clear edge to Auburn, by the way. We'll talk about that in a moment. But it comes down to, can those guys lock down on defense? I'm actually looking at Trey Donaldson maybe more than I am at Aden Holloway in terms of producing big minutes. I am expecting Aden Holloway to be able to play a good brand of defense, but Trey Donaldson's proven that he's very effective on that side of the ball. Also, can KD Johnson, Denver Jones switch off on ball handoffs, high ball screens? It's going to be very, very important that they force Mark Sears to take bad shots, to dish the ball and make other Alabama players score. Because after Mark Sears, Dylan, it drops down to Aaron Estrada at 13.3 points a game. Now, that young man can get the job done. He's also shooting 37-2 from 3. He can shoot the ball from beyond the arc. But Estrada's going to play a lot of minutes, 28-4. Make them distribute the ball in places that are not Mark Sears. Auburn can score 1 through 5, position-wise. They can score 1 through 5. Can you force Alabama to try to play that brand of basketball? It's imposing your will and making the game work at your pace. Auburn needs to play fast and furious. Shout out Vin Diesel. I'm not even joking. Play your quick brand of basketball. Don't take those outside perimeter shots when they're not open. Don't take shots that you know are not your brand. I mean, putting up 33s in a game is not your brand. That's not your basketball this year. Auburn can knock down shots from the stripe, and good Lord knows, get that ball in the hands of Jalen Williams, because that young man is playing his ass off right now. But Make sure that you're scoring in the paint. Let Janai Broome go to work against Grant Nelson, against Sam Walters, against Nick Pringle. That group of forwards, make them step up and defend what a lot of people think could be a first-round draft pick in Janai Broome. And then when Janai Broome comes off the floor, they got to deal with Dylan Cardwell. If he can play his level of basketball that we've seen over the past 10 games, which is becoming a routine thing for Dylan Cardwell, dating really back to USC, Auburn's got a hell of a chance to win this ball game. You're going into a hostile environment, into the most heated rivalry in college sports. Say what you want about Michigan, Ohio State. Sorry, folks, that's just not true. The most heated rivalry in college sports beyond the gridiron for sure. This one's going to be tough, and there's no givens here. Everyone's got to be on their P's and Q's, and you're playing on the road. Which, if you win this one, all right, people are going to be looking. People are going to be looking. Your schedule gets a little bit easier after Alabama until you have to play them again. As a matter of fact, it's going to look very similar until you have to play them again. It's going to look familiar. But this is an imperative win here, Dylan. Like, it's not the end of the world if you don't win this ball game, but you win this one. We're starting to think about Q1 wins come March. We're starting to think about seeding, where Auburn could be seeing themselves play. Like, we're starting to talk about Auburn as a for sure top 20 seed. Like, that's going to happen. Auburn could lock themselves down as a top 10 seed if they win a couple ball games here in the next couple of weeks.
Yeah, because I've been looking at Twitter has just been an absolute mosh pit of people talking about this Auburn team, because as it stands right now, Auburn has no Q1 wins, which very surprising. Knowing that
Indiana, could you get it together?
Yeah, dude. Or USC, there's one of y'all. Just get it together. But people look at that and they're like, well, then this team's not very good because they don't have any quad one wins. But all of their wins are by 10 or more points. This is not a team that's getting wins just barely. This is a team that is getting in the games. If they're winning, they are taking care of business all two halves. I was going to say all four quarters, but the two halves. They're just getting in there, getting the job done. And looking at Alabama, I mean, outside of Mark Sears, there's a lot of shooters on this team. The airplane hanger really helps the aerodynamics of the ball. It's going to be a key factor, is kind of keep the altitude low of the ball. Minimize takeoff is what I'm getting at here. But
all planes will be grounded.
But yeah, I completely agree with this. Game comes down to Aden Holloway and Trey Donaldson. I think it comes down to the guys who are coming right off the bench. I think Auburn's next five, it's a huge game for that next five. That's Trey Donaldson included. That's Katie Johnson. That's Chad Baker-Mazara. And I don't know how often we have to ask him to do what he can to win games. Chad Baker-Mazara does that himself. Chaney Johnson, who fresh off of his best game of the season, needs to step right back up to where he was last game. And then, of course, Dylan Cardwell, who back-to-back games where he has got his career high and tied his career high against Ole Miss and Vanderbilt. But I'm looking at those five and I'm like, okay, Auburn, you have five guys right after your five that can play at the same level of your starting five. Get in, play your brand of basketball, keep the game handled. Don't let Alabama start shooting threes. I mean, looking at they literally go 47, 37. They have 26, 36, 43, and 48 for all the guys who actually play active minutes of the game. Like that is a good shooting bunch. As a team, they're shooting 38% from the 3-point line. Perimeter defense is going to be key, and it's going to be key for the guys who come in right after that starting five.
Yeah, you hit the nail on the head there, Dylan. And then also just play to the formula, not just on court brand of basketball, but when you go head to head, and you mentioned this before we went on the show, Dylan. The only arrow that points Alabama's way here is Mark Sears and the fact that they're on their home court. That's a fact. Beyond that, you're going to be able to out-rotate pretty much any. You can go toe to toe rotationally with anybody in the country. I mean that the top five in the country right now are deep. There's no secret to the recipe right now. You look at UConn, you look at Purdue. I mean, you look at that Arizona team ranked right before Auburn. Those are teams that are 10 guys deep. Auburn's right there in that mix. Alabama's not. I mean, it's a staunch drop off in terms of meaningful rotational minutes. After you get past Latrell Whiteside Jr., Sam Walters averages 13-1. Your starting five is averaging 20 north of 20 a game, and then you've got Nick Pringle and Jared Stevenson averaging right there at 16.5, 15.5. You don't have a lot of 20-point guys on this, not 20 point, 20-minute guys on this Alabama team. Auburn's got a boatload of right around in that ballpark. You go 10 deep. Make sure you go rotation to rotation. Auburn will be better when the benches are on the floor. That is a matter of fact, and you've got to capitalize there. Trey Donaldson, clean up any of those sloppy turnovers, which he's not committed a bunch to that effect. His assist to turnover ratio is beautiful. It's a thing of art. Just continue to play that kind of basketball. The good thing about Auburn basketball is that they don't have drop off. I'm going to quote Bruce Pearl. You don't have drop off from your first five to your second five. The problem is sometimes you're better. That's the big thing. But when you go edge in terms of depth and being able just longevity, this all signs point to Auburn here. And this is a common theme that we've seen throughout the year. Yes, I understand. And people are holding on for dear life that Auburn lost to Appalachian State. It is very funny to look in the comments. People are holding on to that loss for dear life. Auburn learned a lot about itself in that game, by the way. Just throw that out there. It actually might have been exactly what the doctor ordered in the non-con, just being completely transparent with you. That and the Baylor loss, I mean, the fact that we can name the two losses off the top of our head and identify the things that Auburn learned is huge. But playing your brand off the court too and rotating pieces in. Bruce Pearl's gotten better throughout the course of the SEC season about understanding, okay, Trey's just playing better than Aden right now. We're playing in the Southeastern Conference, in my opinion, the best conference of basketball. ACC is pretty good this year, so is the Big Ten. But SEC is the most parity out of any conference in terms of just not a huge gap from top to 2/3 of the way down in terms of teams that can hang with other teams. But he's been pretty good about saying, Trey's playing better than Aid right now. Dylan Cardwell's playing better than Janai Broome right now. These guys are going to get their touches. They're going to get their buckets. They're going to get their minutes. Everybody understands their role. But they also have that trust in Bruce Pearl. I'm also looking at BP. I love letting guys figure things out. I do. And I'm gonna complain about it again, Dylan. I really am, because it's a game that you can't take them with you. It is. You can't take them with you. And I'm cool with letting them figure it out, not calling a timeout in the first half and kind of saving that for later in the game. But when Alabama goes on a run, and guys, the runs are going to come. They're going to come both ways. Basketball is a game of runs. When the big run comes, and there will be one midway through the second half, probably earlier on in the second half from Alabama, kill it. Don't let the under 16, the under 12 kill it. Kill it yourself. Kill the run. And give your guys the opportunity to catch breath, get your right pieces in. Who by that point, you will know who's playing the best brand of basketball. Alabama may open this game, up 8-3. That could happen. Not as worried about the earlier on in the game run, because Auburn's been tremendously good at closing that gap on its own and figuring that one out quick. In the second half of this game, you cannot take those timeouts with you. And you've got to give yourselves a chance and give your guys a chance to recalibrate. Let your X's and O's guys around you say, hey, here's what they're doing well. Mark Sears is able to facilitate to XYZ. They're getting you guys on backdoor cuts whenever we're playing a 2-3 zone, which is not happening much, but you know what I'm saying. It's understanding schematics and giving your guys a chance. That's my big thing that I need out of Bruce Pearl for Auburn to win on Wednesday. That being said, Dylan, I'm good to give a score prediction whenever you are. If you want to add anything else, go right ahead.
I think we hit all the nails in the head. I'm A-okay to give a score prediction for this game.
83-74, Auburn takes down Alabama on the road. I feel this strongly. 9 points is a lot. I understand. But I can also see where it's close. Alabama is forced to foul. Auburn gets the right guy to the stripe, Denver Jones. Yeah, even at this point, shoot. I mean, you hack Dylan. Dylan Cardwell needs to be pushing the rim the whole game, by the way. But this team's shooting the free throw from the free throw line much better than they did last year. And you feel good about where you're at. I can see where Auburn gets to the point where Alabama's got a foul and Auburn cashes in. And you got to cash in. But I think that's very much in the cards.
Yeah, I'm going to go a lot closer. Just because just with the arrow pointing towards the fact that it's in the airplane hangar, and I refuse to ever call it by its actual legal name. But with all due respect, I will not ever call it that.
Dylan's never calling Coleman Coliseum by its Govey.
Yeah, never happening. I think Auburn goes in and wins. I definitely think it's going to be a hard fought game, down to the wire type. I'm going to go Auburn 87. I'm going to say Alabama 83.
This one, like Loki, also screams overtime,
which I just
well, real talk, overtime advantage to Auburn. Just saying.
Well,
Like,
the depth, yes, of course,
yeah.
it does go in Auburn's favor there. But if overtime Auburn basketball just gives me too many flashbacks of what that 2020 year or 2021 year. What year was it where Auburn just had like 7 games in a row where it was overtime after overtime after overtime?
2020, 2021.
Yeah, that I never want to sniff another Auburn overtime game.
Yeah, no, I'm with you. This one does have. I do think it has overtime written all over it in terms of realm of possibility. But there's also the element of how much of the stripes can get involved. I haven't looked at this crew for Wednesday yet. The SEC officiating around the board has been pretty bad this year.
It's been bad all over the place.
And I know this is kind of sounding like a broken record from football season, but this year has been just a textbook example of the league at some point has got to crack down and say, all right, guys, like, hold on a minute. If the refs let them play, advantage huge Auburn if they let them play, because Auburn, I think, is just more physical than this Alabama team. I think
it helps to have Chad Baker-Mazara and Katie Johnson on the same team.
If you look at like having 3 guys on the floor at the same time, which like this doesn't happen a ton, but it happens enough. Like you have CBM, Janai Broome, and Katie Johnson all on the floor at the same time, like and the stripes letting them play. That is bad boy Pistons level, like physical. Like I like Auburn a lot in a situation, especially if stripes are letting them play, but they'll let them play for 36 minutes, and then the last 4 they'll be like 12 combined fouls. It'll be awesome. Like that's exactly how that'll go, by the way. Like Janai will enter like the under 4 timeout with like 2 fouls and wind up with 4. Like one of them he will have like sneezed on a guy. Like that'll be awesome.
There's gonna be like a FanDuel or something. Because I'm gonna have that's gonna have like an over under like 4 fouls one day.
Prop bet.
Chad Baker-Mazara.
Give me Chad Baker-Mazara for a technical. That's just throwing that one out there.
But you're just trying to lose money. Come on.
Yeah, when you lose money, that's free money.
I don't know how betting works. I like to save my money.
I would bet money on Chad Baker-Mazara getting a technical in this game.
I just see it as like you're betting like Tom Brady to make it to the playoffs. That's what it sounds like.
Oh, so it's free money.
I don't know. Is it not like a high enough like wage or like a high?
Oh, it'd be like $100 to win 5.
Yeah, like cool, dude. You got a nice little.
Yeah, you got a layup.
Nice little Abe Lincoln going on.
All right, as we transition over from Auburn men's basketball, before we do so, Todd Pettiford did jump up to the number 1 point guard in the class of 2024. Where are you going?
Where are you going?
More damn Todd.
Ja'Kai also jumped up a little bit, but I could not get the exact numbers on where he is. I think he's like 17 power forward, 69, which is a very nice ranking for him.
Yeah, overall. This guy was made to be an Auburn Tiger. Like,
yeah, dude, have you seen Ja'Kai play?
Yeah, he's so gross.
He is going to be awesome.
He's so good. He's going to be so much fun. This team's going to be fun next year, and I think you may get Aden Holloway again. Just saying, we'll talk about that at the end of the year. We'll see. Look, I would not be mad. Katie Johnson got another year of eligibility, says Dylan Carwell. Just saying. I'm already like mentally cooking some stuff up here.
Auburn goes 14 deep next year.
Yeah, listen. You need another big. But we'll cross that bridge when we get there.
Missouri keeps doing bad. Maybe Peyton Marshall opens his eligibility back up.
Yeah,
or his recruitment. Maybe I think he's already signed.
And you'll see.
He might have already signed. So.
A world of anyway. Let's pivot over to the women's side of the game. First and foremost, I wasn't here Sunday. Congratulations to Auburn women's basketball, snapping that stupid losing streak to the University of Alabama at Tuscaloosa.
What losing streak?
Sorry?
What losing streak?
It doesn't exist anymore. It's dead. Yeah, the old Taylor's dead. She can't come to the phone anymore. Whatever the song line is. Where's Daniel Locke when you need him? Yeah, I tried to appeal to our Kansas City Chiefs audience. Anyhow, so first off, like I said, congratulations to them for snapping that streak. And also, I mean, this group is playing really good basketball right now. Shout out the fans too, guys. Like, this is what investing in women's sports, specifically women's basketball, looks like. We know what you guys can do for softball. You guys show up and you show out. We know what you guys can do for volleyball and for gymnastics. You showed up, you showed out. And this year, that's carrying over to women's basketball. The results are so tangible. There's a real atmosphere at Neville Arena, and that is such a big recruiting pitch. They're going to have some awesome hype videos to show recruits this offseason, just from those 2 games alone. Keep up the trend. You've got South Carolina coming to town next week, but before that happens, you've got UGA. Here is the big question, Dylan. Auburn's done a pretty damn good job in large of staying healthy this year. What is the benefit of Auburn having some time off this week, not having a midweek game, which is kind of a double-edged sword because I think they're playing really good basketball right now. Let's not forget they quite easily could have won that Vanderbilt game. They're playing good basketball right now. What's the advantage of them taking some time to be able to go back, watch film, and rest up this week before they take on UGA?
I mean, you're looking at Marshawn Bostic, who was dealing with who I think got knocked out of an injury against Alabama, giving her time. And Coach, you talked about it yourself, just getting a week to get the team healthy. Of course, having a week off like that in basketball definitely hurts momentum because as a fast-paced sport, a fast-moving sport like this, you kind of have to play game after game after game. That's why you play 2 games a week. That way, you kind of get the season going along. So that does hurt, but it kind of helps a lot that you're going to be getting the best out of your team the next week whenever you're going to play 2 tough opponents again in Georgia and South Carolina. South Carolina again. I think South Carolina's the number 1 team in the country right now, or is that someone else right now?
I believe South Carolina's number 1.
I believe South Carolina. There's so many teams going on in my head right now.
Well, LSU's got to figure their stuff out.
Yeah, but it's worth mentioning
Carolina,
that
UCLA, Colorado, Kansas State, Iowa 5. Iowa lost last night, by the way.
Was that the Ohio State game, or did they lose again?
Ohio State was on Sunday, right? Or was it on Saturday?
Yeah, because Caitlin Clark flopped after getting hit by an Ohio State fan.
She also dropped 45 and they still lost, so that's not even on here.
That's not even news. She averages 45.
She's the best player in women's basketball, dude. It's unbelievable.
She might be the best player in college basketball.
No, you're right. No,
I
think you're right. I hope that I get a chance to see her play before she leaves.
I need the NCAA I need NCAA basketball to come out, and I need her to be the cover athlete for it because I definitely think that she's earned that, or at least have it like Angel Reese and Caitlin Clark both on there.
No, it's Caitlin Clark by a mile.
But
I saw a great tweet I got to tell you about later, by the way, which is very funny. You might have seen it too.
Possibly. But yeah, it'd be a huge week.
The 3-year-old pushing down somebody playing basketball because they want to be like Caitlin Clark. I was like, damn.
Yeah, it'd be a huge week to get healthy and get ready for hopefully another 6,000 strong Neville Arena for South Carolina and Georgia to walk into next week. Because I just want to point out Auburn women's basketball undefeated in games where everyone
6,000 plus.
Exactly. If you keep that up, weird things can happen.
Let me just mention this really quickly here, Dylan. So Auburn's got 2 really tough opponents in Georgia and South Carolina. Georgia, historically, a very good women's basketball program. South Carolina is Dawn Staley. That's all I have to say. And that's really all I have to say about that. After Georgia and South Carolina, the schedule gets easier in terms of there's no easy games in this league. This league is starting to buy into women's basketball on a level that not many others have seen, circa the national championship last year. Obviously, Iowa taking care of business and Stanford being the program that they've been forever, or it feels like forever. But you've got Georgia and South Carolina coming up in the next 2 games. Then you've got Arkansas, Missouri, Kentucky, Alabama on the road. See if you can pull off a sweep over Alabama. Look, I get it. Road game. We'll talk about that when we get there. You play LSU again. I get it. That one's going to be in Baton Rouge. Probably don't have the magic to do it twice, but if you do, damn, that'd be fun.
Unless 6,000 strong, show up.
That's show up in Baton Rouge. To end the season, though, you get Texas A&M, Mississippi State, and Florida. Mississippi State, a good little ball club. Already lost once to Texas A&M. That's going to be at home. A&M, Mississippi State, both at home. You'll travel to Gainesville and round out your season with an 11 a.m. tip-off, God rest your soul, in Gainesville on Sunday, March 3rd. Dylan, there are a lot of winnable games left on this schedule. You can really build some momentum going into the SEC tournament, and hell, you could find yourself with a resume. You beat one of these 2 teams coming up in the next couple days, next few days. Let's just say you take down Georgia, and things happen against South Carolina that Aaliyah Boston shows up and plays basketball. That's going to happen, right? But you take down Georgia, and then you wind up and go grab 2 out of 3 against Arkansas, Missouri, and Kentucky. You go play Alabama close. Like, this team is flirting with a fringe tournament bid in terms of just kind of looking overall holistically. Auburn women's basketball, it is, as we're recording, January 23rd. Auburn women's basketball is 13-6. I'd have to go back and look. I would imagine it would have to be about 2018, the last time Auburn was in that position in terms of competition in the SEC. Auburn's 2-4 in the conference, which I know we're talking like they're 5-1 right now, but this is the progress is so tangible. There is a world of possibilities here where Auburn winds up sneaking in as like a 12 seed in the women's NCAA tournament. And guys, look, I know we're talking here on the men's side about wanting to be a top 4 seed. I get it, but you got to be a 12 seed first. You got to get a bid first, and that's where it starts. And playing and giving yourself a chance to dance, huge. And who knows what this team can do when they get to the SEC tournament up in Greenville, South Carolina. There's a lot of weird stuff that can happen between now and then.
Greenville, South Carolina is known for weird things happening. So
thanks. Cursing grounds.
But yeah, it'd be huge for Auburn to pick up those wins, just because I believe we're all in agreement that Coach Jay is way ahead of this rebuild, and getting a 12 seed, and turning Auburn back into an everything school in terms of the fan support would just be absolutely like awesome. I remember being there for the Auburn Tennessee game when Auburn upset number 4 Tennessee, and
we were courtside, quite literally courtside.
Yeah, and all 50 of us stormed the court. Now they had to tell all 6,000 of those people not to storm the court after beating LSU because they didn't want to pay the fine again. That's a level of fandom that Auburn needs to be at for all sports, but mostly women's basketball, a sport that never really gets the love that it deserves, especially with Coach Jay, who loves this team, loves the school, loves the fans, loves everything about Auburn, Alabama. This team is definitely deserves where they are right now, and I don't know of a team in Auburn right now that kind of deserves a postseason as much as women's basketball does.
Yeah, and I'm just telling you guys right now, I'm giving you guys a heads up. If Auburn wins against Georgia and then plays South Carolina, anything that resembles remotely close, Dylan and I are going to be unreasonably optimistic coming down the stretch because I do think, and when you said you figured South Carolina's number one, I just had to double check. South Carolina's best team in women's basketball right now, the most complete team, and people aren't talking about them because they're so damn good. It's
same
just
old.
Well, Dawn Staley is going to go down as, if not the greatest. I mean, Pat Summitt's there. Pat Summitt is up there. There's a handful of other names as well, and I mean, Kim Mulkey is in that mix, but one of the greatest women's basketball coaches of all time. So, you just got to acknowledge that, accept it, and move forward. But if Auburn takes down Georgia or plays Georgia super, super close, loses in a heartbreaker, whatever that looks like, and then plays South Carolina close, we're going to be unreasonably optimistic coming down the stretch. And I think it's time that we can start saying, like, we didn't say it on this show because we started the show well after Coach Jay got introduced at Auburn and well into her second season, but we did say it on my former radio show when I was in college, TNT in the morning on Weagle 91.1. We've been preaching since the day that she got introduced at Auburn that this was the best hire Auburn had made in a long time. We are going to be justifiably on our "we told you so" a business. We're going to be standing on business there because Coach Jay deserves her flowers. Really, really proud of what she's been able to accomplish and impressed every single day. She's bought into the culture. She's followed the Bruce Pearl recipe in terms of making herself available to students, making herself known within the community. People recognize Coach Jay now. This is huge, guys. This is a step that we used to pray for times like this. As Caleb Jones texted me on Sunday, sending me a picture of the 6,000 strong Neville Arena.
The Fear the Juggle banner getting raised in the jungle.
Dylan, we used to pray for times like this. We really did. We really did. All right, I think that's all we've got today for the College Loop podcast. So
there's one more thing.
Sure.
Yeah, I mentioned. Maddie Penta has been added to another top 10 player list in the country, softball and baseball, just under a month away. So, huge shout out.
I'm just telling you, she's ranked number 9 in Softball America's top 10 softball players. Show me 8 players better than Maddie Penta. I'm just saying that.
Underrated at 9. I must say.
No, show me 8 better. Show me 8 better.
If Maddie Penta is gonna go down as like the Daniel Carlson of softball in terms of she's the best player at her position in the sport, and she might, if not this year, she'll never have gotten recognition for being that, which would absolutely is just mind-boggling to me because you can't spell snub without Maddie Penta because that's exactly what that is.
Agreed. Yeah, she's the best player in college ball, in my opinion. She's the best player in college softball.
And she can also rake. I've heard she can rake.
I've heard those rumors. I have heard those rumors. All right, that is going to do it for the College League podcast. If you guys want to, we appreciate all of your support. Make sure if you're watching on the YouTube stream, give us your thoughts on Auburn men's basketball's chances against against Alabama. They're Auburn playing Auburn, which is like that's an oxymoron. Anyways, against their chances against Alabama in T-Town on Wednesday. Tomorrow as the show is coming out. Let us know where you think the recipe for success is. Did we hit the nail on the head? Did we completely miss it? I think we got it right, but if you guys have other feedback, we absolutely want to hear those and make sure we touch base on those following Auburn's game against Alabama on Wednesday when we recorded this for the Thursday show. If you want to talk a little bit about Auburn women's basketball and how Auburn can continue to draw fans, first off, shout out the marketing team. Good Lord, they've been crushing it this year because it does take an army. It takes a village. I've seen it from the inside. And I'm very, very impressed with what they've gotten done. What are Auburn's chances against UGA? How does that benefit them in terms of being able to get healthy, letting Marshawn get back to full strength? And tell me 8 players better than Maddie Penta in college softball because you can't. So that being said, make sure you go and like, subscribe, ring the bell right here on the YouTube channel. Drop your comments and make sure you share the YouTube channel with a friend. We want to push our way toward 1,000. If you're not watching on the YouTube stream, thank you guys so much for hanging out with us on your streaming platform of choice. Give us 5 stars, thumbs up, whatever the highest rating is on your streaming platform. Share the show with a friend so we can continue to grow the Looper family. If you want to support the show in ways beyond subscriptions, we love you. We appreciate you. Head over to thewarreport.com. Pick up your very own College Loop War Report co-branded Feelin' Loopy t-shirt. Once you pick up your Feelin' Loopy t-shirt, use hashtag Feelin' Loopy, feeling without the G, on whatever social media platform makes you the happiest. If you don't have social media, just email it to thecollegeloop1@gmail.com. We'll throw it up on the next YouTube stream and give you guys a shout out for being the greatest listener base in all of sports, not just college sports, all of sports podcast land. I'm Harrison Tarr. @by Harrison Tarr on the Bird app and on Instagram. If you guys want to come check me out, check out my page and give me your good takes, bad takes, anywhere in between. Also, if you guys want to go support at Wesleyan_athletics, that is a big project I'm working on in my elsewhere in my professional career. It would mean the world to me if you guys can come show some love and support over there. Really trying to do an overhaul and give our ladies the opportunity to feel like they're part of a Division I media team and have that kind of support. And that means the world to them, means the world to me if you guys want to support my work. So sorry, Dylan, I had to plug there. Been working our tail off. I got a great group of interns. I got a great team around me that's working their tails off to give a real special experience to our student athletes and hashtag grow the game, grow the women's game. So, Dylan, I'll let you get us out of here. Tell everybody where they can find us. Love us, support us, and yourself. And let's get ready for sure cardiac hell on Wednesday night.
Yeah, I can't spell Auburn without cardiac arrest, It's just, you can't spell it. But yeah, of course, I'm Dylan Larck. Able to take on Twitter /X. It's at YABOI the Tank. Also have Instagram as well at Dylan Larck at DYLAN, the only way to spell it, LARCK. And of course, you have me right here on the College Loopers. Like, comment, subscribe. Like Tar said, leave your comments on who you think Auburn should hire as the second defensive coordinator. What is your predictions for Auburn, Alabama on Wednesday? And of course, you know what? Give us your ceiling and floor for Auburn softball and baseball, because that season, again, just right around the corner next month. I believe February 16th is the first game of the baseball softball season. I do believe. I might be right about that. If not, I'll let you know next show. But of course, if you're watching, make sure you like, comment, subscribe yet again. And if you're listening, favorite us, thumbs up us, 5-star us, whatever it is, especially if you're listening on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, and Amazon Music, all of the audio softwares that we're on. And if you want to follow social media, you have us on Twitter, TikTok, Facebook, Instagram, the works, all of those at The College Loop. And of course, with all of that and everything that I said, this has been the College Loop podcast.
Love you guys.